my gosh, I got a food scrap on the lens. Look, this was on the lens. Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, that is the single best thing that you can do to support me as a content creator. So click on that subscribe button down below to let me know that you want to see more videos from me, and give this video a thumbs up if you're excited to learn about composting, and also to let me know that you want to see more videos like this one. Thank you so much to Logitech for sponsoring today's video. A little bit later in the video, I'm going to show you my MX Anywhere 3 wireless computer mouse that I love, and now let's get into composting. I shared on my Instagram a little bit about how I collect my food scraps in my New York City apartment, and it was very clear to me that there were a lot of people out there that were interested in this topic and wanted to learn how to do it themselves. If you're not following me on Instagram already, head over to @Lucie Fink for some more regular daily updates about my life in New York City. I share a lot of behind the scenes about what we're growing and what we're doing here in our 2-bedroom apartment in New York, so I'd love to see you over on Instagram. I really want to preface this video by letting you know that I am not a composting expert. Contrary to what many people might think, I'm actually not 100% zero waste or 100% sustainable. I love learning more about sustainability. I love incorporating many sustainable practices into my life. Overall, my goal is to become a more conscious consumer and to make small swaps that are actually, no pun intended, sustainable for my long-term life. In other words, I'm still learning and I'm still growing. I'm not perfect at this, but I really am trying. If you are looking for a composting expert, you may want to stop this video and head over to another video. But what you will get from this video is just a regular person who has done a ton of her own research and who's really trying to implement small changes. And if you identify with that, this could be great for you. So first and foremost, what is compost? Compost is organic material that has been decomposed by being exposed to air and water, and it creates a nutrient-rich soil-like product that can then be used for things like farming, gardening, and all kinds of growing. When you compost your food scraps, you're basically taking that waste and turning it into a valuable resource that can then be used to create more good and grow more things. I've always loved science and chemistry. I think the whole process of how food decomposes and how compost is created and works is really cool, but people are not just composting because they think the scientific process is cool. They're doing it because it's actually a very important thing for us to be doing for the environment. And now Michael is crossing over the screen. This is what happens when you shoot in the kitchen. Whenever we throw organic materials like food waste into the trash, it goes off to the landfill. And a byproduct of that decomposition process in the landfill leads to methane emissions in the air. Methane is a greenhouse gas that contributes to climate change, and landfills in general have contributed to loads of environmental and health issues. Plus, not even to mention, there's the whole carbon footprint that comes along with actually hauling that waste to the landfill in the first place. So overall, throwing your food waste in the trash is just not the move. So the two main ways a person can compost would either be through backyard composting or commercial composting. In backyard composting, you are collecting your own food scraps to create your own compost, and then you actually oversee the composting process and get to use that compost for personal reasons like growing and gardening. And in commercial composting, you're just collecting all of your food scraps and all of the compostable items and then bringing them to a third-party facility that is going to compost for you. And this commercial composting is what I do in New York City. So I'm not backyard composting, I'm not actually creating my own compost. I am purely collecting my food scraps to bring it to a third-party location that will turn it into compost. So I am commercially composting commercially, composting in a commercial way, creating a compost commercial. In this video, I'm not going to go too much into backyard composting because, as I mentioned, I don't currently do it, and there is a whole process associated with it that I don't necessarily know much about. It involves getting a bin, getting a bunch of organic materials together. In some cases, you actually need to get worms, and you can do vermicomposting, but essentially you're collecting a bin of organic material that will then work to decompose your food scraps right there in the bin. I definitely plan on doing backyard composting at some point in my future, ideally when I have a house and a lot more outdoor space, and then I'm gonna make my own compost and use it in my own garden. But right now I'm just sharing the simplest of the simple, how I go about collecting my food scraps in my New York City apartment and then drop them off at a third-party site that will take my food scraps and bring them to a commercial composting facility. I do believe that most cities have a place where individuals can drop off their food scraps to be turned into compost. Just try looking at your local farmer's market or doing a quick Google search. I'm sharing a link down below that I found from Literalist that is a resource compiling a list of composting services available in every state. I don't know the ins and outs of composting all across the country, but it's worth mentioning that collection collections at various food scrap donation sites have been suspended recently because of COVID-19. So before you gather up your food scraps and go to the farmer's market near you, check and make sure that they are in fact collecting food scraps. Thankfully in Manhattan, the Union Square Green Market is still open for food scrap collections, so that's where I'm going. So here's how I do it. A couple of years ago, after a shop at Whole Foods, I got those Whole Foods paper bags. I took a double bag, so a bag inside a bag, and I cut the top off so that it fit into my freezer. Let me get it. I've been using this double bag combination for about a year now, so it is starting to rip. I actually will probably need to create a new one very soon. But this is what the bag looks like, and it's very important to note that I don't just carry it like this to the farmer's market. If I did that, I could really risk breaking it on the street and spilling this food everywhere. So instead, I put these double bags inside of a third tote bag, which I carry on my shoulder, and I carry it down in that bag. First of all, here's what it looks like, and as you can see inside, it is just filled with now frozen food scraps. And honestly, it smells like fruit, but it doesn't have a bad smell at all because we really just put fruits and veggies in here and they freeze immediately, and that's great. What's currently in my food scrap collection bin? All right, let's see. We made a couple of juices today, so we have a lot of those juice scraps, a lot of kale, ginger, lemon grounds. I also have this giant skin, oh gosh, it's all connected. There's also the giant skin of a butternut squash that I ate last night for dinner. There are a lot of peelings from the outsides of fruits from the juice, celery. One way to help make sure you don't have way too many food scraps is if you shop for your produce at the farmer's market, often they will offer to take those leaves off the top of things like carrots for you. And yeah, just lots of colors, lots of smells, but I'm gonna be honest, this smells really fresh and good. It honestly smells to me like I'm standing inside of a juice generation, and it's just food scraps. So that's cool. So why the freezer? I was taught that collecting food scraps in the freezer helps to prevent any bad smell when the food starts to rot. After all, you're collecting food scraps. This is organic, natural material. Very quickly after this is exposed to the air, it is going to start breaking down and smelling and rotting. It's just like smelling the inside of a garbage after you've dumped food in it the night before. I've never tried collecting my food scraps outside of the freezer because the freezer seems to work really well for me, but I have seen some really cute composting bins on people's counters. I think as long as the bin is airtight, it's fine to keep it out of the freezer, but keeping it in the freezer does really help prevent the smell and to prevent bugs. And as I've learned over time, when you're doing it in the freezer, you actually can do it in an open bag like this. Some people even just put a big metal bowl in their freezer, and it can be exposed because the freezer does really stop the smell. And the next question that everyone wants to know is, what can I and what can't I compost? Various commercial composting facilities accept different things, so you might want to do a search beforehand just to make sure that everything you're throwing in the food scrap bin is acceptable. But I'll cover the things that are generally accepted and the things that are generally not accepted. Things that are acceptable include coffee grounds and filters, tea bags, cut flowers and houseplants, fruit and vegetable scraps, any other non-greasy food scraps like pasta, bread, or cereal, but not the dairy if you are pouring milk in your cereal, eggshells, nuts, potting soil, and brown paper products. Things that are often not accepted at compost sites include meat, fish, animal bones, dairy, pet waste, greasy food scraps, and then some random things like receipts, coconuts, plastics of any kind, rubber bands, twist ties, plants that are infested with bugs, charcoal, and more. I do a ton of research about this topic regularly, and I'm always learning new things, like apparently you should not compost avocado pits because they can start to sprout. Another thing to note, because this one always trips me up, is before putting any fruit or veggie scraps in there, make sure the sticker is peeled off. If you're finding yourself really interested in this topic, I would highly recommend looking into articles sharing some interesting things that you can compost that you did not know were compostable. I've definitely learned a ton of fun facts from articles like that. Things like toilet paper rolls, your own human hair, nail clippings as long as you weren't wearing any polish, cardboard cereal or pasta boxes, wine corks, your old bamboo toothbrush handle, and so much more. So as you might be able to tell, I have done a ton of research on this topic. And that is basically step one for me whenever I start any new YouTube video. I go in hard on the research. Sometimes I'm sitting in front of the computer scrolling away for hours. And for anyone out there who is also on their computer regularly, I wanted to share the new wireless mouse that I've been using from Logitech. I'm one of those people who likes to move around a lot as I work. So sometimes I'm sitting at my desk like a normal person. I sit on the couch, I sit at the kitchen table. I often stand right here in the kitchen and I use this windowsill as a standing desk. Sometimes I'm lying in bed and doing work. I'm really all over the place with my laptop. I really love mixing it up and changing up my work scenery. You will rarely find me posted up in my office all day without moving. And this mouse is specifically meant to work well when used anywhere. So even tracking on glass or on a couch, it works perfectly. It's a very modern shape. I chose the pale gray color, but they also have graphite and rose. It has silicone side grips, which make it really comfortable in my hand. It uses USB-C quick charging, and it stays powered up to 70 days on a full charge, which is amazing for me since I really don't like it when my tech gadgets die quickly on me. So if you're looking for a really comfortable, really lightweight wireless mouse to use, definitely check out this one from Logitech. I also love using it for video editing. Anyone who edits their videos will tell you how difficult it is to use Adobe Premiere on your laptop with the trackpad. Yes, you can get used to it and get fast over time, but I'm so used to sitting at an actual computer using a mouse. So when I have this wireless mouse with me, it's almost like I've created a little edit suite no matter where I'm sitting or standing. So check out the link down below if you want to try one for yourself, and let me know if you also love sitting at your computer and doing loads of research for hours. When it comes to composting, I know there's so much more that I can learn, and I really think that once I start backyard composting myself, I will learn so much just through the process of doing. So stay tuned. If you still follow me in maybe 2-3 years time, I will share my backyard composting tips then. But I know how many of you out there are interested in taking small steps today to become more sustainable and help the environment, and collecting your food scraps at home for composting is a tiny thing you can do to start helping right now. If you are a composting expert, or even if you just have more info about this that I did not cover, please comment below and share your tips. And wherever you live, if there's an incredible food scrap drop-off site that you think everyone needs to know about, share details about it below so that anyone in your area can easily find it. Thank you so much for coming back to my YouTube channel. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Lucie Fink for more behind the scenes of our life in New York City. I share a lot of our daily life in this kitchen and in our apartment. We're currently growing some things in the Aero garden back there, which is what you're seeing all lit up. And we also just installed a new shelf garden that's gonna grow lettuce, tomatoes, and lots of veggies. Click on the thumbs up button down below if you like this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!